North Korea is one of the most secretive and tightly controlled countries in the world. When people think about it, they usually imagine strict surveillance, rigid social rules, and a government that allows almost no dissent. So when news appears that North Korea has held elections, like the ones reported in 2026, it often raises a simple but important question. How can a dictatorship hold elections, and why would it even bother? At first glance, the idea seems contradictory. Elections are usually associated with democracy, competition, and choice. In most countries, voters decide between different candidates, parties, and policies. Campaigns are held, debates happen, and the outcome is uncertain until the votes are counted. In North Korea, none of that applies in the way people in democratic countries would expect. Yet elections still take place, regularly and with great ceremony. To understand why, it helps to look closely at how elections in North Korea actually work. In North Korea, elections are held for bodies like the Supreme People's Assembly, which is the country's legislature. On paper, this assembly is the highest organ of state power. In reality, it functions more as a rubber stamp for decisions already made by the leadership, particularly by the ruling party. During elections, each district typically has only one candidate on the ballot. That candidate is pre-selected by the ruling party and its affiliated organizations. There's no real competition, no alternative choices, and no campaigning in the way we understand it. Voters are not deciding between different visions for the country. Instead, they are being asked to approve a choice that has already been made. The voting process itself is also tightly controlled. Citizens are expected to show up at polling stations, often dressed neatly and participating in what feels more like a civic ritual than a political decision. Official reports usually claim extremely high turnout rates, often close to 100%. The results are also predictable, with near unanimous approval for the candidate. Technically, there is a way to vote against the candidate. Voters can cross out the name on the ballot, but doing so requires going into a separate booth, which makes the act visible to officials. In a society where surveillance is widespread and dissent can carry severe consequences, this is not a real option for most people. The system is designed so that participation is public and conformity is the safest choice. So, if the outcome is known in advance, why go through the process at all? One reason is legitimacy. Even authoritarian governments want to appear legitimate, both to their own citizens and to the outside world. Elections provide a way to create the appearance of popular support. When the government announces that nearly all citizens voted and nearly all supported the candidates, it reinforces the message that the leadership is unified with the people. The act of voting, even without real choice, helps reinforce that narrative. Another reason is control. Elections in North Korea are not just about counting votes. They are also a way to monitor the population. Because participation is expected and recorded, authorities can quickly identify who did not show up. Failing to vote can raise suspicion and trigger further scrutiny. In this sense, elections function as a kind of census combined with a loyalty check. They help the government keep track of citizens and ensure that people are following expected behaviors. The process also reinforces habits of obedience. When citizens regularly participate in state-organized rituals, it strengthens the pattern of compliance. There's also a symbolic aspect. Elections are presented as a celebration of the political system. Polling stations are often decorated, and the atmosphere can resemble a festival. Music may be played, and people may gather in groups. The event is framed not as a moment of decision, but as a moment of collective affirmation. This symbolic function matters in a system that relies heavily on ideology. By turning elections into a visible, repeated ritual, the state reinforces its core message, that the system works, that it is supported by the people, and that there is no need for change. The 2026 elections followed this familiar pattern. Reports indicated high turnout and overwhelming support for the candidates. International observers were not present, and independent verification was not possible. From an outside perspective, the results did not provide new information about public opinion. But from the regime's perspective, the elections served their purpose. They reaffirmed the structure of power, demonstrated organizational control, and provided another opportunity to project stability. North Korea is not unique in holding elections under authoritarian conditions. Many other regimes, both in the past and present, have done the same. These elections may look different on the surface, but they often serve similar functions. In some countries, there may be multiple candidates, but the playing field is heavily skewed. Opposition figures may face legal obstacles, media restrictions, or intimidation. In others, elections are more openly controlled, with outcomes that are effectively predetermined. In all these cases, elections can serve as a tool rather than a genuine mechanism of choice. They can help regimes manage elites by distributing positions and rewards. They can provide a controlled outlet for limited political participation, reducing the risk of unrest. They can also help leaders gather information about local conditions, even if the data is imperfect. Perhaps most importantly, elections can create a sense of normalcy. By adopting the outward forms of democracy, authoritarian regimes can blur the line between genuine and symbolic participation. This can make it harder, both domestically and internationally, to challenge the system. There is also an international dimension. Even if few outside observers believe that North Korean elections are free or fair, the mere fact that elections are held allows the government to claim that it follows certain global norms. This can be useful in diplomatic contexts, where appearances sometimes matter as much as realities. At the same time, it would be a mistake to assume that these elections are meaningless. While they do not provide real choice, they still play a role in the political system. They shape how citizens interact with the state, how authority is displayed, and how power is maintained. For the people living under such systems, the experience of elections is very different from what many others are used to. It is less about expressing an opinion and more about fulfilling an expectation. Participation is not a right in the usual sense, but a duty. This difference highlights a broader point about how political systems can use the same institutions in very different ways. Elections, parliaments, and constitutions are often seen as markers of democracy, but their presence alone does not guarantee meaningful participation or accountability. What matters is how those institutions function in practice. In North Korea, elections are part of a system designed to concentrate power, not distribute it. They are carefully managed, highly predictable, and deeply integrated into the state's broader strategy of control and messaging. Yet they persist, election after election, year after year. This persistence tells us something important. Even the most closed and authoritarian regimes feel the need to justify themselves. They seek ways to show that their rule is accepted, even if that acceptance is constructed rather than freely given. Elections provide a convenient tool for that purpose. They are familiar, recognizable, and adaptable. They can be reshaped to fit almost any political system, including those that offer no real choice at all. In the end, the question is not why North Korea holds elections despite knowing the outcome. It is precisely because the outcome is known that the elections are useful. They are not about uncertainty or competition. They are about certainty, control, and the repeated demonstration of unity. They are a performance, but one with real effects. Understanding this helps make sense of what might otherwise seem like a contradiction. Elections in North Korea are not a sign of democracy in the usual sense. They are a reflection of how political tools can be adapted to serve very different ends. And as long as those ends include maintaining power, projecting legitimacy, and reinforcing control, such elections are likely to continue. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into North Korea's elections, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss future videos. And while you're here, check out the videos appearing on screen right now. They're the perfect next watch. See you in the next one.